Welcome to the Faith in the Wild podcast, where the path is rarely straight, but always sacred. I'm Nicole Moran.
And I'm Angelica McCarthy. For 20 years, we've been walking this journey of life together, stumbling, rising, and discovering God's presence in unexpected places.
Today, we're creating space for conversation and reflection, inviting you to venture into the wilderness with us, because sometimes the most profound truths are found when we step off the marked trails and trust that we're exactly where we need to be.
So take a deep breath, open your heart, and join us as we explore what it means to have faith in the wild.
Happy bonus episode.
Bonus episode. It is the middle of June and it is hot.
We're feeling it.
And it's a bonus. Woo!
Bonus. I'm so ready for this though. I'm like ready for this weather. It brings me back to like my teenage years of lifeguarding, being outside and just sweating and being in the water, all those things.
Did you ever have to do the days when it was still frigid outside and crazy windy and you still had to lifeguard?
Yes.
Leading into maybe a week or two ago,
Yeah.
Joe and I would go to the beach and we just see those lifeguards sitting there and they're the young kids and they're just full on garb, sweatshirt, sweatpants.
Yeah, but those days, I mean, every day has, right? In life, every day has bright side to the scenarios, and those, nobody else is there. So a lot of times you could just vibe out, podcasts, hang with whatever friend shows up, tell your friends to come because nobody else is there.
Yeah, we saw a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
The friends are coming and hanging by the lifeguard stand.
That is the place to be. That was the best job. The best.
I love that.
The best. I got to work with my sister, and that was fun. Those were fun years.
Not anymore.
What, lifeguarding? I feel like that's all I do is lifeguard. I gotta keep two tiny humans alive every day.
You know what? That's so real. That is so real.
Every day. I'm proud of
Literal lifeguard.
I said to a friend the other day, they were like, "Oh, how was your day?" I was like, "I kept two tiny humans alive today. It's been a really good day. It's been a really good day."
Nicole, you are hitting me with perspective right now. Full on perspective.
But sometimes you need to say it out loud, because 3 years ago, if I said that, I'd be like, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't do this. But it's like, you know what? I did do this though. I did this thing. And I'm really proud of myself for that. And I say it out loud.
That makes me think of what my equivalent is. Because I don't have tiny humans. But
you've got a lot of things.
What is that?
Plate.
But still, that lately, although I'm slowly but surely, depending on the day, getting out of that as far as, oh my God, I didn't get this and this done. It depends. But maybe I just need to think about your scenario. It's like, you know what? Nicole kept two humans alive. But yeah. I think I just need to, there are moments where you have to like paradigm shift or pattern interrupt the mindset of thinking of the grind to just get things done. Whereas maybe that's not it.
Right. Now, mind you, that was the one day. The other days I have a list on the list that I'm like, ah! So it's a work in progress.
Yes.
It's a work in progress in all aspects, but making that shift to acknowledge those things. And tomorrow's another day in all those aspects.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Which actually kind of segues into our topic really this week of lifeguarding into literally, what are we doing? Our topic today is evolution.
Sure is.
In our friend-to-friend chat, non-recorded last week, of catching up to realize like the evolution of things, the evolution of each other, what we're observing and seeing in each other. I know for me, the way that you said it, you're evolving, and I'm like, yes, I am. Like it was you kind of know it in the nitty gritty of it. You kind of see it. You can feel the agitation of the evolution. But to the way you reflected it back to me last week was like, oh yeah. And then it was like, yeah, let's talk about this bonus. Let's do it. So as far as evolution, I'm not even sure where to start with the thought of it, only to be in the now of it.
Yeah.
Because it's so multidimensional. It feels as though how it's been coming to me has been like shedding skin.
Okay.
Or if you think about the transformation of a butterfly. But for me, it's literally shedding skin, which is very uncomfortable. It's dry, it can be itchy, it's red, it's inflamed, and then it dries up and then it just scales off. And there's a different skin underneath it. But what does that literally look like and feel like in these stages? Because it always tends to be something that looks like a job or an external thing or a this or a that shows you the outcome compared to where you were to where you are at that point. But for me, I feel like it's in literally taking away all of that. And it's a little deeper. It's a little more spiritual, I guess, I would say, in the human being I really want to be.
Yeah.
And want to be because it's called to be, not like I want to go out and be Joe Schmo down the street type evolution. It's really actually being the authentic me is where, and then everything else is just happens to be flowing from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the conversation that you were speaking of that we had last week, I sit in this privileged position to be able to watch it. And so when you're in it and you're going through it, I think personally, you're just in it. Sometimes your blinders are up, and even if they're not, your head's down. Like you're just in it to work through it and, you know, find that door you're to walk through or that window to let open or what this looks like to you or what parts need to just shut off, right? And to allow you to advance and whatever that looks like for yourself. And I get the privilege of being able to watch you kind of evolve through that. And that's really where that comment came from, because it's a very unique and privileged position. I think when you have friends that you're able to do life with, and you're also able to see them in different phases of life. And I like that we're talking about the now, because that's kind of what I've been thinking about over this last week is like, oh gosh, that's a really heavy word because there's lots of chapters, but I like the intentionality of the now and the work that has been done even in these last few episodes that bring us to this. And at the end of the day, giving yourself a pat on the back is like, hey, you have two tiny humans alive. Like, hey, we're doing a thing, you're doing a thing, and being able to walk alongside each other through some of these maybe heavier evolution moments is really a privilege. I'm glad that we're talking about this topic, but it was an interesting thing to reflect on this week because the word itself, I think, has a few different meanings depending on the scenario that you're talking to. And so I had a hard time like encapsulating, okay, this is what I'm focused on. So when I think of the word, I'm like, oh gosh, there's so much happening all at one time. Like, how do you just talk about one thing or how do you focus on one thing? And I think honestly, that's part of my process through the evolution of where I'm at right now is not every bucket or every lane needs to be, I hesitate to use the word perfection, but there's an aspect of myself of that. And it's that it's within the lines of what I envision it to be. And I think the evolution I'm going through is we're well coloring outside the lines these days.
It's not a bad word. I think we've talked about this before as far as like perfection isn't a bad thing. It's just in how chronic is it? How heavy is it? Is it limiting you? Is it showing you, are you not aligned within it? Are you not allowing it to help you guide along the way versus it being the only thing that
right.
So yes to your perfectionism, but yes, all of the buckets part so resonates because we can't do it all, right? There was one moment where that mantra of I can do it all, like I know I can. There's no like forcing myself. There's no willpower. It's an I know I can do it. But then next thing you know, you're so overwhelmed because maybe that perfection does kick in, or maybe that this or that. So yeah, the evolution is literally all of the above. So where do you start? Where have you started?
Personally, for me, is going back to look at where we've come in the short term and focusing on, the goals that I set out for myself and my family and relationships within the last 6 months or so. Does that bring us to January, I believe? So we're about halfway through,
Yeah.
give or take right now, and reflecting on those things and not losing sight of some of the victories and not just honing in on like, oh, I should have done this better or I could do this better or this and that. And I think that's the evolution for myself, is taking a further step back. If you can envision, it's like, okay, I can do this. And then you move on to the next thing. I can do this. And then you move on to the next thing. I can do that. And it's like, that's not a sustainable life. And for myself, it was like, okay, I'm going to compartmentalize. This is my work. And it doesn't really flow into life, right? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus and blinders on that. And then this is my family and they've got to fit into this. And then this is friends and my faith, right? And you try to like, I feel like it's like, I'm doing good. I'm not doing good. I'm doing good. I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I take an even bigger step back? You can just think of taking that huge step when you're a kid and you're playing those games. And it's like, how do I take this even larger step to give myself the opportunity to have a larger lens? And within that, I think you find grace and patience, at least for myself, to be like, okay, these are the really important things in my life. My faith, my family, the work that I do. And there's another one, oh, physical fitness, like staying healthy, right? These things are very important and they're all equally important. And how do I prioritize them and how do I fill them? So looking back to the last week, the last month, the last three months, the last 6 months, and just seeing the evolution of myself and being proud of it and not being critical in the sense like you should have done this or you could have done that better, but like the sense of, oh, wow, I've learned so much. I'm going to take this and in tune, it will make me better. It'll make me a better mom. It'll make me a better wife. It'll make me a better coworker, friend, follower within my faith and within my journey. And so I don't know if that answered your question, but that just felt
No,
like
it did.
dang, and getting out there because I think that's something. I think you sent me a podcast at this point, it was probably a month or so ago, and somebody broke it up in those, buckets where it's like, how do we take a look at the things that are super important in our lives? Because I think finding a balance is always hard, but if you're taking a look at what you prioritize and what you value, you can almost see yourself evolve into the importance of each of these in your actions, in your demeanors, in how you carry yourself. And I used to go from 0 to 60 sometimes pretty quick. And I can see myself now taking that step back, having that wider lens of the experience. And I think this podcast was one of those pieces of the puzzle for me.
Yeah, when you had mentioned as far as your being a mother and your faith, your family, your work, all of those different things, to not go back and reflect on the importance of those things or realizing the value of those things in your life. They've always been a part, depending on the scope of it. But where does it really sit? It shifts. We have different priorities all the time. And so that reflection is the first thing. You have to. Mm-hmm. I think the hardest thing for me in that reflection is the surrendering and the letting go part. Just as much as going back, reflecting on them, seeing what they were, where that lesson was, what pieces do you take with you and which parts do you let go? And that's been that surrender and release, that let go, has been a major, major practice. I would say probably most heavily in the past 3 months of the past 6 this year, in just honoring it and, and going back and looking at myself. It's like, okay, so what am I looking at, and or where did this come from? What are the things that are holding me back? My biggest evolution, or what are the things that are holding me back as to not being able to be at my fullest potential? Mm-hmm. I know that I can do it, and all the willpower things, but what is that rooted belief? You can't even tell me anything other than I just know. It's internally rooted in me. And so the evolution for me had to go back. It started in having to go back, like you just said. And sometimes it's in asking the right questions too, and non-judgmentally, you said grace, and it's in looking at, even if you don't know where it began, what is that first thing that would come to my sense of me telling, whether I consciously knew I was telling myself that I wasn't enough or the worthiness, it always comes back to that enoughness part where, yes, I can do it, and I've done great things and I've done big things.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're so head deep down in it, it's hard to see.
Yeah.
So with that, though, I would say that's probably been my biggest part of my evolution thus far. It was the surrender piece.
The surrender.
And then how do you then, in surrendering, how do you take care of yourself in that surrendering? It's like, how hard that is to surrender and let go, but then still take action and it comes back to our first episode, faith. I don't even think it is, for me, it's not even blind faith. It's a full on faith, and it's trust. It is just, and those were things that had to continue to be practiced and understood too, and understood not logically, but understood like an embodied knowing.
Yeah. Love that you just said trust, because I think that to me is that word. Whenever evolution, and I was thinking about it over this last week, is trust. Trust just kept coming up. And I think that's realizing I can't do it all. I can't do it alone. And then at the same point, I am not alone.
Right.
So that's
right.
Letting go, but it's also stepping into that. I'm not in him. I can do all. With that faith, it really is the pillar. And it wasn't, how I said faith, then family, and so on. Like, that's the prioritization, because the closer I am to him and his word through daily devotions and prayer and those reflection times has allowed every cup to just continue to fill. And not saying it's perfect and it's a work in progress, it's a journey. We all talk about the path. But yeah, that trust aspect for me, it's digging into that from a long time ago with things, and not from a critical eye,
right,
but from like a discovery eye.
Oh, I love that word. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you were saying a little bit how you've been honoring this over the last few months and everything. What are some things that what does that look like for you? With daily practice, or?
It is an ebb and flow scenario, but I will say the one action was looking at reprioritization of my self-care in that, because it is very easy for me to look at all things and do other things and put myself on not the back burner, but it's like, oh, I'll get to myself later.
Yeah.
Whereas now my self-care looks like my emotional well-being, very much so. And that's probably the biggest thing. I still am like back and forth with physical. Yes, physical is a very important part of it. And self-care is so multidimensional, but I think it's my spiritual and my emotional were probably the biggest things that I've been diving deep into, because ultimately in the evolution, it's the becoming for me. It's actually becoming that person who I know I'm supposed to be in this next phase to embark on that bigger call, which I know in my soul that God is doing with me right now. I just know it. And so my battle in my stress of, I should just go back and do all these other things that are just right here. There's a beautiful opportunity right here. Why don't you go do it? And to say no multiple times, and then to say yes to myself. So what does that yes look like? It's in looking at myself and trying to mend that relationship of love and self-trust and all those things. And it's making me a better person to myself. It's making me a better partner, even though that's a challenge too some days. And it actually allows me to have more compassion and care for others, which is what I'm here to do anyways. Like, yeah, I'm here to give and care to others. Mm-hmm. But the amount of times that I've experienced giving and caring to others, and I don't check in with myself and give or care to myself, I don't treat myself the same as I would someone else, that's backwards. So yeah, that's what that looks like for me right now in how I've been navigating that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. I think the word prioritization. So I would say over this last year, if I'm looking back, so a year ago, I would have been, how old is Noah? So he'd be
It's
16
over
months.
a year.
I would have been like 4 months postpartum and basically been felt like I was like pregnant or having babies for like 3 years. Two of them, they were very close, being 18 months apart, and then being new and into a marriage and being new and technically into living where I am now, coming home, which is comfort, but it's also being here as an adult. It's very different than being here as a child. And all of those things, just kind of rushing emotions and priorities and responsibilities and all the life waves that just felt like they kept crashing, crashing, crashing. And I would say taking a look over these last 15 months to a year has definitely been a hard journey. That quintessential saying, like, I need more time in a day. I will tell you now, it's flipped. It's like, wow, there is enough time in the day because I've taken the journey of prioritizing what's been important to me and realizing that I very much was making a mountain out of a molehill in different situations of my life, whether that be my faith, my work, my family, all the pillars that are super important, my health, right? It's like, oh gosh, look at this body, who like I'm so weak, I'm this and that, but it's like you've just birthed two tiny humans. Good job. But I couldn't see that and I wasn't there. And so I'd say for me over these last 12 months coming into this new year and really choosing to step back and choosing to spend dedicated time to do an inventory check, I would say, is what I spent some time doing. Where are you actually spending your time? What are you prioritizing? Because if you say something's important and you're spending 2% of your time there, is it really that important? Or should you be spending more of that time there? And so it's been small steps in that journey, but really kind of put the pedal to the metal, I'd say in January, for myself as well as for our family and learning the space that I want to give my attention to in this new found chapter that I'm in.
Mm.
And I think the other thing is also, you talk about shedding and surrendering and letting go. I think I spent a lot of time over those first couple months to a year of my oldest. And then when the second one came 18 months later, doing a lot of the inventory check, I felt like I was trying to take my life that existed prior to kids and even marriage, because we were still newlyweds. We had Mav within the first year of marriage. And so trying to fit, you want to think of like, we're doing blocks these days and shapes in this family. So, trying to take that square peg and put it into a round hole, it was not working. It was not working. And continuing to just, I got to make it fit. I got to make it work. This is how I find joy. This is what worked in the past. So I kept trying and failing to say, this is how I know that I can get through this day or how we can get through this scenario or situation or what have you. It can be the littlest things of like the dishes in the sink, right? To who's doing laundry and folding to work or major life decisions. It wasn't working. And so I would say over this last 12 months, I have started letting go. And I'm not great at it.
Ugh,
I
best
like
thing ever.
control. It feels comfortable. And I realized I probably brought this up numerous times in episodes prior to this, but I realized out one day on a walk, and that's like my happy place and where I talk to God, and I can't be in control. I can't. And not saying that I can't as a negative, but actually as a victory statement.
I love that. Repeat that. Say it again.
Yes. Realizing that saying I can't is not a negative statement, it's a victory statement. And if I had to look back, it's still an everyday, hi, my name's Nicole. I like to control the situation. It's still an everyday work in progress. But I will tell you, it's been a worthy journey to be on and to give that up and to go back to the trust and go back to the faith. And it's literally embedded. And I want it to be embedded. I want it to be embedded in every decision that I make. So, yeah, I think that would be how I've been looking to honor it. And it's a struggle sometimes in some of those buckets, but I know it's the path that I want to consistently stay on. And so I wake up every day knowing this is the path that I want to be on. And I start my day in my devotion, because it might not be that I have an hour to give to it, but you know what? It's the way that I'm starting it, and it will be the reason for everything I do in that day. And it's the way that I want to wake up. That's where I've been. And like I said, that statement and allowing, for us, I mean, a lot of this podcast, I mean, it's called Faith in the Wild, is it's having that faith and not being like, oh yeah, I'm faithful. And like, it's almost like an aftermath, but it's the driver. And I think having that, honestly, it's a force to be reckoned with, and allowing that surrender and allowing that trust and allowing me just to literally put my hands out in the situations and give it to him and give it to God has allowed so much space in that lens to get even wider, which some of the goal and purpose of our lives, we both align, and we want to give it to others. And so if I'm open and I'm able to give to myself and others, I mean, why not keep it running that way?
Yeah. As you're saying that, the control part in anything you do is the how. You know, we're dealing with a lot of problems in this world, whether they most directly affect us or not. And it's the how. What is the solution to the problem? And he's the how. That faith, that's the most liberating thing for me too, especially in the uncertainty and the uncomfortable, because that faith and trust in that path that I would say that we're both on, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's more of the path we haven't seen yet. No one's really emulated it the way that our uniqueness and our likeness sees, observes, knows. So to step out on that path, I choose this path, but that wasn't the right one or the left one. I'm choosing the one that has a ton of brush, that's like fully in the wild. And maybe there are people, other entities that have had relative similarities, but it's not my journey. So with that, here you go. Take the control. I trust. I have faith. And I don't know how, but you're how. So all right. What are we doing today? What are we doing today, Lord? How can I just take that first step?
Yeah.
So,
you know what's really cool? So over the last few months, I've had an opportunity within what I do for a living, within work, as well as within some of my hobbies. I've been able just to be more open when I'm speaking. And so let's say you all are starting to get to know us here. Like, we can be very passionate about things. And so when we talk about things, sometimes people listen, not all the time. I can't say all the time, but sometimes. And so I'd be giving a presentation or talking about a topic and had an engaged audience. And I used to feel like I needed to prove something, and I needed to make myself feel that accolades by the alphabet soup that might be behind my name, or this, that, and the other thing. You know what has been the best compliment that I've been getting? And I take no credit. I take no credit for this, because I am at a point now when I get to speak about my hobbies or about my work, it is directly through him. I am here for a purpose because God has given me that purpose, and I want to let him work in me and through me. And so now when I go up in front of people, or I'm have an opportunity to speak on something, people stop me and say, "Who are you?" And I can directly see your passion through this. How much of a compliment that is when somebody comes up after speak and they stop and they say, "I see your passion through this. I see this through you." And it's interesting because I'm like, I couldn't even tell you what I just talked about, but I felt really great, right? Because they're not my words. And I'm giving that up because that is restricting to me. It has been restricting, holding that heaviness, holding that control over something that I am built to speak on. Again, whether that's professionally or personally, you gotta let the lid up, right? Like just go. And I think that's an area that I do this little micro prayers, like, all right, you talk to God like a coach, right? We've both been athletes, and I don't want to say that past tense. I like to think of myself, I might be like a pickleball athlete these days and not basketball.
You can take that. I'm not an athlete. No.
But I talked to
I'm too concerned about injuries. I'm not an athlete anymore. I need my limbs to do my work. Sorry.
Fair.
And yes, you're an athlete. You're a pickleball athlete.
Come on. Like, it's my new thing. Yeah, it's so fun. But yeah, you're talking to him like, okay, like I'm getting pumped up. Let me do your work. Let me speak through you. I am giving this to you.
Yes.
And when you just start talking, it's like it just keeps going and flowing. And it is the coolest thing to experience. And it's almost like a high that you have in that moment. And you're just like, and then when somebody sees, not, it's almost like they don't see me, they see him, they see God through me. And being able to do that has just been such a pleasure.
Yeah. So. I know exactly what that feeling is, because I actually had a staff member send me an email saying the relative same things without them saying God. They could see my spirituality and like within the work that I was presenting on. And I said, the only thing I said was like, thank you. And that's God in me. I flat out was like, yes. And so they wanted to have a moment where we could talk.
Love
and
that.
We're in the workplace. All I'm doing is speaking about health and well-being in the workplace. Oh. And this person just happened to see more. But don't you know, when I first read that, I immediately started bawling my eyes, flat out crying. And then I went to Joe and I said, read this. Wow. And I literally said it to him. I said, this is the first time that I felt like I'm being seen, like fully seen. And that's the only thing I said was like, this is God in me. For you to express that and to know that's the essence of who we are. And that's the work that we're here to do. It's just the work, the passion is the extension, it's the gift, it's the everything that we're, whether it's the tangible things, but you're steeped in the presence. And that's what it felt like that email was to me. And it's just an amazing thing. And to also have that feeling is to know that's validation, that's verification, that's yes, and it's all of the above. So yeah, that's really cool. We just got to keep moving forward, you know, and
yeah. And you're going to have those days like yesterday, right? I'm right there with you. And they're heavy. We're human. But through him, I think one thing that I still struggle with is recognizing in those moments that I need him, not just be like, okay, at this time, at this moment, when I wake up, I'm here, but it's, and also, right?
Yeah.
And for my life and timing. And it's also remembering those things. That's something that I need to continue staying present in. And I think that's something that I want to continue to challenge myself with, is in those other moments.
Yes. So that feels like, as you say, that could potentially be your continued practice moving forward in your evolution. It's going to honestly continue to evolve you, is that right? Do you have a sense of next in the now?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that, because I've been thinking
growth in the now. I'm stumbling over the thought because I feel like the words, the language gives too much identity to it. I feel like it's all of the above, but go ahead.
So I would say a year ago, past, I mean, many years over the years, I've been like, okay, so if I do this, this is going to happen. This will be the outcome, right? It was so narrow focused. I talk a lot about lenses right now, and that was fine, right? It was safety. Majority of the time, I work really hard. I do this. This is going to happen. This is the outcome. And for a lot of my life, it's worked that way. But there was always something missing. And I very much know in my testimony, there's a larger purpose for me. And what that is, I've tried to control it over the years. Like, oh, it must be this, right? Or it must be this, or it must be that. And I think now within my journey is like, you know what? You have given me these gifts of an open heart and caring for others and a specific population in our world right now, and being open to more than I can control. So I think that's, if that makes sense. So I am trying to practice consistency and intentionality around my everyday practice versus staying pigeonholed to, if I do this, then this is going to be the outcome. Because what happens with that is that battery runs out.
Yeah.
That battery runs out because eventually you're just like, gosh, I'm just really tired. And then you stop. And then you're like, oh, shoot, I got to catch back up. And then you feel like you're on this constant race, and it's not a purpose-driven life anymore, right? You're not in that actual growth and evolution of life, and you miss out. And so where I'm at right now, it's actually like this really cool space. My practice is to continue to show up. So like we took a pause for a couple weeks, and that was really challenging. That was a really challenging time. So I'm like, okay, so this became really important in my life for these set reasons. And I want to keep that space open and not try to fill it with something to get something else done. And so I think staying open and consistent to these spaces of community, friendship, when life can just feel really busy and hard sometimes, and finding the importance to fill those buckets and those pillars within my life is very important. And not getting so caught up in, this is where I feel like is the end goal. Like this is what has to happen at this time because this is the goal. This is actually leaving space for that to like take a hard left, and finding comfort and excitement in that is, I think, where I'm at right now. And so I would say my continued practice is consistency, intentionality, and continuing to provide myself the space to grow and to learn, because I find joy in that. And so some people might be like, oh gosh, that's a really packed schedule. But actually, when you break it down, I had a good conversation actually with my mom the other day. She reflected on the moment that we had with some of the stuff that I have going on right now. She's like, I actually found that a lot of fun, where it was the topic that she actually was very fearful in having a conversation on. She's like, I learned a lot. This is actually really some cool stuff. And
oh, that's so great.
And she's able to help something else. So it's like, this is going to be so much bigger than I can even imagine. So I'm going to stop imagining.
Yeah.
And just living consistently through it. So that's where my practice is, because I have a tendency to be like, this is my goal, this is where I want it to be, and just stay too focused when I want to keep a wide lens right now. And so my continued practice is working on how I keep that lens open. And I don't know how I'm going to do it right now, but showing up for myself, I think, is one of those big things, like you were talking about, self-care.
Yeah. That's so good. Quick thought, because we talked about our evolution as our being, and obviously the extensions of those things, the buckets. But do you want to speak towards your evolution through your passion and your gift here now? Do we have enough time to speak about that? Is that something that you want to share, or do you want to keep that for future? Your seeds.
What feels the most comfortable right now is more to come. Right now, this has been such an exciting journey getting this season and this bonus episode. I'm so glad you had this idea, that I want to allow some more space, and then we'll bring that.
Awesome. But so your seed though is consistency.
My seed would be consistency. It has to be. I think also stepping back and that acknowledgement of your priorities and where your time is actually being spent. That would be my challenge. Keep checking in, like you were saying. Do that check-in where you're at.
Take the time to reflect, refresh, check in on yourself, and then refocus. And I think that's the name of the game as far as the practice of all of that. See where God takes you. Be open to where He takes you.
Be open.
Until next time, season 2, whatever we figure out to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Ooh, it'll be good.
Evolution, y'all.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Bye, friend.
Bye now.
Everybody.
As we bring today's journey to a close, we invite you to carry these reflections into your own wilderness moments this week.
Remember that growth rarely happens in comfortable spaces. It's in the questions, the uncertainty, and yes, even the doubts, where we often discover the essence of ourselves and our faith.
We're so grateful to have you walking alongside us on this path. Until next time, may you trust the journey, embrace the wilderness, and find God in the wild spaces. This has been Faith in the Wild podcast. I'm Angelica McCarthy.
And I'm Nicole Moran. Thank you for listening. High five.
High five. Love your life.